All right, bear with me on this one. I just tested positive for the Rona today, so my voice is a little rough. Let's get into it.
Hello and welcome to What the F Just Happened Today, your essential guide to the daily shock and awe in national politics. I'm Joe Amditis. Let's get to it.
It's Tuesday, June 28th, 2022. Welcome to day 525. Donald Trump knew some of his supporters were armed when he directed them to march on the Capitol on January 6th. This, according to Cassidy Hutchinson, a former top aide to then White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows. Hutchinson, testifying before the January 6th committee, said that both Trump and Meadows ignored warnings about potential violence on January 6th, that they both wanted Trump to join the march to the Capitol, and that days before the insurrection, Meadows told her that, quote, things might get real bad, end quote, at the Capitol. Hutchinson also detailed how minutes before he took the stage at the Ellipse on January 6th, Trump insisted that Secret Service remove the metal detectors to allow his armed supporters, who had rifles, pistols, knives, brass knuckles, and other weapons, into the rally, saying, quote, I don't effing care that they have weapons. They're not here to hurt me. Let my people in. They can march to the Capitol from here, end quote. Hutchinson also said that Trump wanted to create a photo op of a very large crowd gathered to hear him speak. He then urged his supporters, knowing some of them were armed, to march to the Capitol. Hutchinson testified that after his speech, Trump demanded to be driven to the Capitol, but his Secret Service detail, however, refused to do so out of concerns of safety. When Trump was informed that he would be returning to the White House instead, Hutchinson said he became so irate that he said, quote, something to the effect of, I'm the effing president, take me up to the Capitol now, end quote. Trump then tried to forcibly steer his limousine to the Capitol from the back seat and lunged for the throat of his bodyguard while wrestling for control of the vehicle. Later, as Trump supporters stormed the Capitol, some chanting, hang Mike Pence, Hutchinson said Meadows told her Trump doesn't want to do anything. He thinks Mike deserves it. He doesn't think they're doing anything wrong. Also, during his 1-minute video calling for the rioters to leave the Capitol and go home, which he posted to Twitter more than 2 hours after the mob overtook the Capitol, Trump reportedly wanted to include language about pardoning the rioters. His legal counsel, however, advised against doing so. Hutchinson also said that on December 1st, after Attorney General William Barr said there was no evidence of fraud in the 2020 election, Trump threw his lunch at the White House wall, splattering ketchup all over the wall. And lastly, Meadows and Rudy Giuliani later sought pardons as a result of the events on January 6th, but Trump never pardoned either advisor before he left office. Meanwhile, the FBI seized the phone of the attorney who developed Trump's strategy to stop Congress from certifying the 2020 presidential election results on January 6th. Federal agents stopped John Eastman and took his iPhone as he was leaving a restaurant last week. This according to a lawsuit that he filed in New Mexico to recover his property from the government. According to the filing, the seizure of Eastman's phone came on the same day that federal agents searched the home of Jeffrey Clark, a former DOJ official who promised to help Trump reverse his election loss by pressuring the agency to promote his false claims of election fraud. Trump briefly considered appointing Clark to run the department because he was willing to declare that the election results were invalid in some key states. Moving on, the White House signaled that Joe Biden will not pursue Senate Democratic proposals to build abortion clinics on federal land, or fund people seeking abortions out of state, or expand the Supreme Court, or end the filibuster after the Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade. Progressive Democratic lawmakers, including Senator Elizabeth Warren and Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, have called on Biden to declare a national medical emergency to acknowledge the, quote, emergency situation and the urgency of getting help out, end quote. So far, Biden's response has consisted of urging voters to elect more Democrats and launching a website by the Department of Health and Human Services to help people find contraceptives and abortion services. When asked recently if he thinks the Supreme Court is broken, Biden replied, quote, I think the Supreme Court has made some terrible decisions, end quote. And finally, global methane emissions, quote, appear to be going in the wrong direction, end quote, despite a coalition of more than 100 nations voluntarily pledging to cut methane emissions by 30% by the year 2030. Kairos, a firm that analyzes satellite data, said methane emissions rose 20% since the easing of the coronavirus pandemic, a development that the French methane tracking firm called worrisome.
That's all for now. You can find the links and sources for all of these stories on the main website. And as always, visit whatthefjusthappenedtoday.com for the latest news and headlines. Until next time, I'm Joe Amditas.